everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Somehow It Returned, featuring the Returners, the Lost Guys, the Reanimators. I don't know. We're still working on that name, and we got to figure that out. But at any rate,
all I know is somehow we returned.
Somehow we returned, and so I am joined once again by the fantastic Nolan Thunder and the ever mysterious Martin Stone. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Hangry, you are fantastic.
Aw,
I'm doing pretty well myself.
That sounds that, and your smooth, dulcet voice, Martin, sounds even smoother with that new microphone you got.
Yeah, I figured it was time to upgrade.
Sounds fantastic, dude.
So on
Can
that,
you narrate my life?
Yeah, seriously, eh? So on that
Nolan
note,
Thunder, a young man with a mission
What is my mission?
to explore strange new worlds.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll go for
New
it.
topics, maybe, I don't know. But
Boldly go where no series has gone before.
that works. Well, on the okay, we're getting derailed right now because what we're going to be talking about today, and maybe actually that is the entire point. We are going to be talking about the Mandela effect. And no, it's not just the film, although they did.
No, we're not just the movie. We're talking about the phenomenon. If we're just talking about the movie, I'm sorry, I'm canceling this episode.
I didn't even know they had made a movie on this. Like, this is wild. I think I have to watch this now. But yes, no, we are talking about the Mandela effect. And the Mandela effect is what exactly? Nolan, do you want to sort of clue us in for those who've never heard of it before?
So the Mandela effect has been a weird phenomenon in life that has occurred for years upon years, like decades, but it really got a lot of notoriety, I'd say, in about the late 2010s or so, the phrase came from, if you're not familiar, Nelson Mandela, famous dude, by the way. He was believed to have died in prison. He didn't die in prison. That's historically false or whatever. But it coined a term called the Mandela effect. Basically, it was like a false memory to where a bunch of people remember things a certain way, but it's completely different. Whereas a false memory is just like, oh, I thought I left the keys somewhere yesterday, but no, it was over there. But a Mandela effect is different because a bunch of people remember things being a certain way, but all of a sudden it's different. And you're like, huh? What happened? And it's not the most famous example, but it is the one that got the phrase going. So it's very weird. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I've always been very skeptical of the idea of the Streisand effect myself. What do you think, Hangry?
Oh, no problem at all. No, thank you for the question. I really appreciate that. It's, I think it's a really good one. It at first you kind of have to think that maybe it's some sort of, mass delusion, but at the same time, if it is, like, the very fact that there's so many people who were remembering or misremembering these things kind of leads you to think that that there might be a bit more to it than you expect, like, timeline shifting and people changing from one to the other. Pray continue, Martin, a little bit more of, sorry, Nolan, now I just had a bit of Mandela effect myself, about
quit changing timelines, Sanger.
The changing timelines. The Mandela effect, it essentially a mass false memory, and there have been quite a lot of theories behind this, right? And so, Martin, what are your thoughts on this entire thing? Do you think this is just sort of collective delusion, or do you think there might be a little bit more behind it?
I'm pretty mundane on this one. I love the whole urban legend of it. I love reading all the stuff, but no, I don't believe in alternate timelines or dimensional travel. I think it's more mundane.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, you have me who's bat crap crazy. I'm like, yeah, quantum mechanics, baby.
Well, I will say this, Martin, that I right up until this episode, I was kind of feeling the same way. I thought, it's just, collective remembrances, things that are kind of triggering your memory that you confuse with other things, et cetera, and so forth. But then when I was doing a little bit of research, and I guess I'm going to start having to put my tinfoil hat on, apparently the
I have
Mandela
some prepared.
yeah, well, and you're probably already aware of this, Nolan. So the Mandela effect was first coined back in 2010.
Oh,
And
was
it
that
was
old? Really?
yeah, and so this it was one of these articles that I had, and I'll try to see if I can pop it back up.
I
But
got the
it,
stories. He's got the background.
yeah,
And Martin's got
exactly.
the
So
facts.
so it was originated, yeah, in 2010 by someone by the name of Fiona Broom after she discovered that she, along with a number of others, believed that Nelson Mandela had died in the 1980s when he actually died in 2013. And so, as a bit of a joke, I went and with this whole multiple dimensions thing and shifting timelines, I went and looked up the Wikipedia article for the Large Hadron Collider, which I've just pulled up, and lo and behold, it was first activated in 2010. So
Oh
that
God.
that
Okay.
is an interesting coinky dink, I gotta say. And I'm not saying that this is causing the Mandela effect, but hey, that is kind of neat.
Nice investigation there, by the way. So, all right. So, the viewers who might not be that familiar with the Mandela effect might be wondering, so how is this relevant to a bunch of people misremembering an event, like a massive false memory? Like, what's so different about this? Well, the thing is with the Mandela effect is a lot of people believe that this is tied to other dimensions, the multiverse and stuff. They think that what happened was somehow instead of being something more like practical, like Martin was talking about, we've shifted to another timeline that is very much like ours, but is slightly different. That's why the trend of the Mandela effect is, how do you remember it from, say, when you were a kid, or maybe even later in life? How can so many people misremember one thing? And that collider is one of the possible reasons to why we changed a timeline to begin with, because when they started firing all that stuff at each other, like the guts they had to start doing that, it messed up our time a lot. I really liked the whole thing where in 2012, when people thought doomsday was going to happen, that when we crossed the galactic plane or whatever, that somehow something tricked, and that the world, a fun theory is that the world actually did end in 2012. But what happened was somehow we all got thrown into a simulation, which there are many theories with this, that kind of mimicked our universe, but not exactly. And there's some things to where some things in life don't really feel real. And unfortunately, people who have struggled with sadness or depression in life, it's very easy to feel like things just don't feel real anymore. And thankfully, as someone who's kind of gotten to a better place in life, who was in some more difficult times in life, you do start to feel again, for all those that are currently going through that. But it does help bring some credences. If you feel a bit alien in your world, perhaps you're not even in the world you grew up in, which is just freaking insane. Like, it's madness.
Well, I think it's really interesting that I'd heard the pause of the simulation before, that we are all in this large simulation and whatnot. I hadn't heard about the fact that it all started in 2012. But you know what else started in 2012? Disney bought Lucasfilm. And the simulation.
Thanks, Tiger.
And the simulation is the reason why Star Wars sucks now. No.
And
yes,
I'm glad you brought that up too, because so we've been talking about the Mandela effect here for a few minutes, but we haven't given any examples.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys had any examples prepared today. I got about 5 ready because I wanted to bring some of my favorite ones to the table. I wanted to bring some of my favorites because I didn't want this just to be, hey guys, here's our top 15 logos that you didn't know. Like Kit Kat had a dash, or it didn't. Didn't you know? Okay, like, comment, describe. No. I wanted to bring some of the best ones I felt like had some of the most I could personally connect with, or I feel like are some of the best ones to a lot of people misremember this, and it's worth talking about. So I see Hangry already brought one up here. Anything you'd like to say before I start going off on these?
Me? No, but Martin, what do you think? Do you remember the cornucopia?
Well, okay, so we had talked about this stuff before and didn't really use this brand very much, so I didn't remember the logo very well. But I went and watched a recording of the Star Wars holiday special I have because it had the Fruit of the Loom commercial in it. There was no cornucopia there, but that doesn't mean anything because the Mandela effect is about having been in a different universe or dimension or something like that. So I guess in that universe or dimension, there was one, but this one doesn't. So
It's
the physical
retroactive.
evidence we would have wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, basically, like it would be like Back to the Future, right? Where you fade out or the photo changes as you alter the past.
Mm-hmm.
And part of why I picked this one is because a lot of these, I have a personal connection with this one. I have a distinct memory of when I was like, I don't know, 4 or whatever. I was at my grandma's house, and I think I can remember vaguely the first time I learned. It had something to do with like, I don't know, because you're a kid, you're interested in everything, like strawberries, tables, whatever. And I don't know, some reason Fruit of the Loom as a company, because she was like, "Ooh, Fruit of the Loom," and I'm like, I remember there being a cornucopia. Like I have a distinct memory of like learning about either what a cornucopia was or what Fruit of the Loom was. And the part of a trend you see with Fruit, I was about to say Fruit of the Loom, the Mandela effect is this thing called residuals. To where those are in the paranormal have heard of like residual hauntings, to where they happen again and again. In this, if I'm using the right term here, it's kind of has to do with like footprints being left behind, and there's somehow points to where, like, let's take for example, actually, Hangry, can you bring up the next point, please? The picture
with Frank West?
the flute one, please.
Yeah, okay, here.
Let's call it Prosecutors Exhibit B.
Prosecutors Exhibit B.
The jury will decide whether this is real, and the jury being our audience, our wonderful, wonderful audience. Okay, so you see these leftovers things. For example, take the case of Frank West. There was a parody album or an album made that kind of spoofed Fruit of the Loom, and they decided to make the cornucopia a flute. He also remembers there being a cornucopia, but it never existed. As he says here, he wouldn't have drawn it if it wasn't there. There's a lot of weird things like this. There is another one of a still from the movie called The Ant Bully, which I remember they used to advertise that movie all the time, and I never saw it because I didn't think it looked very good. But maybe it was a good movie. I don't know. But there was a scene in it where they were kind of parodying the logo, and I think on the kids' underwear or something like that, you can see a little tag that's supposed to mimic the Fruit of the Loom logo. Oh, there we have it right there. So it's clearly, it was in the public consciousness. It wasn't just a thing that came in 2010s. Like it was back then, people were remembering. And usually that's where a lot of these weird residuals come from, some that have to be from memory. And some people even think certain Mandela effects, like they just keep changing and changing. Like where you take the Thinker. Some people remember him like his hand positioned a certain way. The Thinker being a famous art piece, by the way. Like his hands positioned a certain way. Some people then realize, wait, he has a hat on? Like, wasn't that his hair? The Statue of Liberty, I know some people say they remember like there being like tours at the head of the Statue of Liberty when that was like never a thing. There's some weird stuff. And before I get into any more of these, I'll let you guys take the mic for a minute, because what do you guys think of all these leftovers per se? Oh God, this one is to say. But go ahead. I'll wait.
I mean, you just kind of blown my mind a little bit, because I didn't even realize that about the Thinker was wearing a hat.
God, here we go.
Well, I always go back to the classic one, the Berenstain Bears and the Berenstain Bears. Like I when I was a kid growing up, like I loved those Berenstain Bears books, and so it still doesn't sit right to me that they are the Berenstain Bears. Like,
I know, right?
Because as a kid, when you're learning how to speak English or to read, you're looking at things. You're breaking down words. You're like,
you're paying attention.
Berenstein, right? Like, and so then finally you get, okay, Berenstein. Oh, that's how you say it. And then blam, it's like Berenstain. What the hell? So,
it doesn't make any sense. And I watched Berenstain growing up. And in fact, I will do a little quiz with people when I meet people like in my day to day. Sometimes if the topic kind of gets up, I will sometimes ask like a friend, I'm like, hey, do you remember those family of bears when you were a kid? Like, what were they called again? And they'll be like the Berenstein Bears. I'm like, yep, thank you. I'm just like testing people just to make sure it's not just a bunch of people on the internet like, oh, it's 5 people and we're blowing this into way bigger than what it is. But it's such a specific thing. And I'm sorry, I'll let you go, Martin. But say there's certain Mandela effects I legitimately do not believe in. Like one of the biggest cases is Luke, I am your father from The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
I believe that's just a matter of, not everybody had instant streaming back then. Instead of saying, no, I am your father, Luke, I am your father, it adds context. If you're quoting a movie, you're probably adding a little bit of context. If you only saw it on VHS like 10 years ago and unless you watch that scene constantly, I get that. I think that's legitimately just the public giving it more info. But something as weird as the phrase as Berenstein, Martin, do you find yourself saying stain a lot over Steen? Oh, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. I know that I could probably quote Inside, Outside, Upside Down from memory because my kids loved that book. Mm-hmm. But when I pick up a copy of the book, it says Berenstain Bears. Now, I could talk about the way human memory works, and maybe we want to save that for a little later. But, when we read, at least as adults, we chunk words. And we had talked about this a while back, how you see on the internet every once in a while, like paragraphs that will be written where the words are jumbled, but the first letter and the last letter of each word are correct, and you can still read that. And it's crazy, but the human mind is able to assemble that because after you've been reading for a while, you're just chunking things together that make it make sense.
Now,
but what you said
was funny. Funny enough, I had personal experiences just the other day where I was thinking about that, and I was kind of like, that's dumb or whatever. And then someone wrote that on a piece of paper while we were waiting, and I say misread, but I read it properly when he misspelled it, and I'm like, oh dang it! I guess it's not dumb. They're right. Like the brain detects that, and it kind of blows my mind because it's impressive how such a jumbled mess the brain can detect as right. But continue.
Well. There's a lot of other ones too, like the Sally Field Oscar speech one. You guys are aware of that one?
You love me. No. You really love me. I mean, the Mask did a riff on that.
Yeah, they the Mask, they did a riff on it. But what she actually said was something more like, "Now in this moment, you like me," or something like that. The quote everybody remembers captures the essence of it, but it's not the exact quote, right? And that's kind of how human memory works. We don't really have photographic or audiographic memories. Mm-hmm. We recreate things.
Well, I don't know, Nolan. This I'm starting to doubt this whole art.
Oh no! All right.
I really like this. Oh, go ahead.
All right. So we're gonna surf around because that's the thing is like I'm not real big on Mandela effect quotes because like I agree with Martin in this. I think it can be misremembered often. And usually think about when it comes to recapping stuff. We tend to think in picture, going back to the mind. When we don't have, when we can't picture something like say anxiety or confusion or something like that, when there's a lack of picture of what we can identify, like say the future or something like that, we tend to get like the mind can't make a picture. But if it's something we can identify, then it's like we can tend to remember things, maybe not exact, but we can get a bit closer than just a word. So that's why with some more of these Mandela effects is I'm trying to use because like I'm not a big fan of like, okay, you remember a logo somewhere, it had a star on the logo, it didn't have a star on the logo. Like, let's be honest here, you might have glanced at the Kit Kat bar, you saw it for a minute and just started doing things. So that's why I've been trying to go with like stuff that's more weird. Like there's certain things that just don't even make contextual sense. So I'm gonna jump ahead. We'll come back to Mona Lisa. Hangry, can you please bring up that poster for that James Bond movie, please?
Yeah, and I was gonna actually ask you about that one because we just did Dr. No for the Genre Guys, and I was like, Oh, is this a leftover from that
No. Oh man. Okay, this is fine. So I
presentation or
wanted
no?
to go more where we're tying into here. Okay. Cinematic universe, everybody. No.
All right.
Okay. So wow, this is cool. Okay. So this movie, I'll be real with you guys. I don't want to come off as fake here. I've actually have not seen this movie. And I've wanted to
You
go
can
with
skip
more
it.
things like what's that?
You can skip it.
Yeah. Oh.
It's a lesser
Okay,
bone.
now I kind of want to see it more, honestly. Okay, so I can enjoy bad movies. Anyways, so I wanted to go with more with like, Berenstain, Cornucopia, like stuff I remember personally, because it's one thing just to be a parrot, recite like, oh, I heard this happened. Like I heard that the Kit Kat bar had a dash. I don't remember this stuff. I don't care. But this movie is a perfect example of something changes that people remember and it doesn't make sense anymore. So there is a scene where, okay, how good are you? Hangry, I think, will remember this better. And Martin seems to be a fan. What is the name? Metal Teeth? Is that the name of the villain? Am I wrong?
Jaws.
Jaws.
Well,
Jaws.
Jaws
Okay, it
is
is
the name
Jaws.
of the henchman, but the
Okay.
villain is. Go ahead.
Thank you. I thought it was Jaws, and that was Google Images, and it would bring up Metal Teeth before Jaws. So I was like, is that the name of the guy? So there is a scene in this movie where the guy has the weird Jaws metal teeth thing going on where he's like evil and super villain, whatever. So there's a scene in the movie where he meets his love interest, and if I say anything wrong, please correct me, guys. But
Okay.
he meets his love interest, and the girl has braces, and it's really cheesy, but it's funny because the girl has braces and it's playing like this sappy, like romantic music that's actually really good. And
Yep.
it's like she smiles at him, and it's like, oh, she has metal and it's cute. And then they're like a thing for like the rest of the movie or whatever. And people remember that. They look at their old VHS tapes. Like, this is the thing. There was even a wiki entry with the picture of her right next to it, where she's like, she's a nerdy girl, whatever. She has teeth, braces, and all that. The girl never had braces, and now the scene makes no dang sense unless he's falling in love with her cup size or something, or her pretty face. Like,
Oh,
the
interesting.
scene doesn't make sense anymore.
Okay, I
Do you
could
remember
sworn she
that
had
part?
braces. Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
it
no,
very
me
well.
too. And I mean that's the entire gag. That's the
Yeah.
entire premise of the gag.
Can you bring up the picture I sent you of her?
Yeah, hang on.
So you remember the braces too, Martin?
Yeah,
live
absolutely. I
reaction.
remember the braces.
Yeah,
So
she never had
okay,
braces.
I haven't seen this movie in forever. So you're telling me right now that in the film she doesn't have braces anymore?
No, and this is why this is so fascinating to me, because it goes from a thing like, now this is a bad point in the plot because it ruins them. It's like in the original Scary Movie. There was a joke about it's old Hollywood, the
Oh my
token African American dude in Scary Movie. The joke was a spin on the famous phrase, I see dead people. Well, in the poster, they have him holding up a sign that says, I see white people. That joke was never in the movie, and now he just holds up a sign that says, I see dead people. It's not even a joke anymore. It's just a quote from the movie, and once again, it's like, why are you putting this on here? It's not even a joke. This one, now, a plot point doesn't even make sense, and you know what? I haven't seen this movie, so take the mic, guys.
I'm speechless.
Yeah,
Martin?
that one's strange to me. I kind of I remember there being braces there. You
Like,
got me on that one.
Why? I mean, maybe we're misremembering. Maybe she just, wanted to flash him a big smile, and he smiles back with like these giant metal teeth. But yeah, this doesn't sit right to me. And we haven't photoshopped this picture or anything. That is bizarre.
Nope. That's how the movie apparently is now. Like I said, I'm not a James Bond expert. I would actually really love to watch a James Bond movie because I always try to dress like Pierce Brosnan sometimes when I'm going out. So like I'm kind of partial to GoldenEye. Like, I need to see that. I think that's the first Bond movie I want to see, but I might get some recommendations for you guys. But
GoldenEye was the first Bond movie I saw. It's a good one.
But
okay, yeah,
it's interesting. Like, I mean, in terms of Bond, I always prefer the very first Bond, like the first actor who ever played him, which was Roger Moore.
John Connery.
And
I know.
Roger Moore wasn't
okay.
the first to play it.
I know. I'm kidding.
Are you
I'm
messing
kidding,
with
I'm
me?
kidding. No. That's
Okay, I was like, Sean Connery, what? I was
Actually,
like,
Sean
is
Connery
there
wasn't the
like
first one to
deep
play him
lore
either.
here?
joking. Yes, no, Connery all the way. 100% Connery. I'm not a huge Roger Moore fan myself.
But Connery
I
wasn't
like
the first one to
Indiana
play him either.
Jones's dad.
What's that?
Connery
I
wasn't
like
the first one to
Indiana
play him either.
Jones's dad.
We did it
Oh.
again.
Wait. Connery wasn't the first Bond?
Well, he was the first Ian Productions Bond.
Yes.
But CBS did a teleplay where
On-
James Bond is an American CIA agent. They called Jim or Jimmy Bond or something like that.
Hilarious.
And Felix Leiter is a Brit.
Wow. Interesting.
It's like the old black and white Batman movies. A lot of people don't remember where Adam West actually wasn't the first live action Batman.
I have those serials. Those are they're cheesy and wonderful and awful.
Oh, I need to see those. I still need to see those. Okay, maybe we need to do that. Cover that movie one.
Yeah,
day.
we might
That's
have- we-
really
we-
obscure.
That would actually be a really good episode, I think. But going back to the Mandela effect, though,
Yes.
it is interesting.
sorry.
Like again, looking into some of the explanations for the Mandela effect, they say things that it could be. Hang on, I'm going to see if I can pull this up. So it was obviously done because of this lady Fiona Broome forgetting the fact that, thinking that Nelson Mandela had passed away in the 1980s when in fact he died in 2013. And some of the explanations that I've seen for it were that this is essentially, as Martin had posited, the memory conflating things. Two separate sort of, how do I put this? Two separate inputs that get kind of merged together when you think about them later on in life. One of those Mandela effects, for example, is Fruit Loops. And here, I'll throw this up on the screen right now. This one I thought was really kind of interesting in the sense that I don't remember them ever being FRUIT loops, and yet they were spelled with the actual cereal before. Now, to be fair, I never ate the cereal much when I was a kid, so that could possibly explain it. But I don't know, guys. Like, which one of these photos looks right to you?
Honestly, to me, the first one looks right. I'm not an expert on this. I did eat the cereal sometimes. I think not a ton. I remember when they had like the promotion where they had like two of the pink ones, I think, together. And please don't let that end up becoming a Mandela effect too. But there was like a little gimmick they did with the cereal. But the first one looks correct to me, but I can't really say I know for sure on that.
No, I think I remember the double O. Speaking of Bond, because these things contain no fruit whatsoever.
Right. That is true. Skechers with a T?
I just saw a commercial about this one. Mr. T is doing a commercial for Skechers about how there's no T in Skechers.
No kidding.
No kidding.
That's not the first time too that they've satired. The Fruit of the Loom people did a satire about the cornucopia. Some people think they're gaslighting, which is hilarious. Maybe that's the case. Curious George, I don't remember the tail thing. But I didn't really grow up with the books. I grew up with the cartoon when I was older.
I don't remember.
I will say, as far as parodying the Mandela effect, one of the most famous examples, I didn't include this one because it wasn't one I could really connect to. But in the ones I was searching for, there's a movie that's pretty famous for the Mandela effect, a whole movie called Shazam. It stars Sinbad, and he's a genie. Yeah. And he like makes kids. It's one of those cheesy 90s movies you see at like VHS at the video store. Apparently that movie never existed, and instead there was a. What's that?
No, that's Shaq, isn't it?
Yeah, Kazam. I think it's Shaq.
Okay.
Yeah, but people swear, and they freaking swear on the Holy Bible of that this movie exists. In fact, it's so famous that the people at College Humor actually got Sinbad to appear in a parody video where he pretends to be a genie and stuff like that. It's a really clever idea to do. I got some more examples if you'd like to segue
Yeah,
into that. Unless there's something you wanna
absolutely.
cover. All right, so I'll save the best one for last. But next, I want to talk about. Let's get into it. Okay, can we bring the Mona Lisa back up, please?
Yeah,
I
sure.
want to talk about this.
All right.
Because this is another one that I distinctly remember from when I was a kid. So I don't remember about you guys, but when I was young, I got to get samples of various different cartoon channels. In the Mona Lisa, I feel like I remember something in either like the Fairly Odd Parents. I think I'm mixing a memory in with this one, but I remember in cartoons, like this painting was so famous that they would parody it. And the thing about the Mona Lisa was, it wasn't about, famous person drew famous painting. I'm sorry to the artist. I don't know who was it. Da Vinci. I don't know who drew this.
Yeah, that was Leonardo da Vinci.
Thank you. Okay, props to my homie. Okay, so the Mona Lisa, the thing I remember about it, why it was such an interesting painting, was not because of the detail, not because of beauty. It's because, was this girl smiling? And I censored myself there. You're welcome, by the way. Was she? Because, look at that picture on the right. Is she smiling? Is she not? And I thought that was intriguing. I thought that was a cool art idea. Is it she kind of is? I feel like cartoons make fun of that Mona Lisa smile. And then years later, it's like 2013 or whatever, I was watching a video by Matthew Santoro. Shout out to that dude. The dude's great. I was watching a video by him, and he was doing like a top 50 facts videos back when those were kind of popular things to do. And he talks about the Mona Lisa and something completely different. And he shows a picture. It's that picture on the left. And I'm like, well, that's weird. He used a picture of like a meme picture off Google Images. Like someone edited it to make it look more smirky. Like that's like a joke. And I'm like, that's so weird. And then I found out about the Mandela effect, and I'm like,
no, you're 100% right, Martin. Like what I remember about the Mona Lisa, and I've never actually seen it in person, unfortunately. I'd love to one day, but
me too.
It was the mysterious expression, the smile on her face, which is captivating, which has never been able to be fully replicated, which people have spent countless hours debating and discussing. But yeah, I remember that. I don't know, or this is a collective delusion.
Well, I think
that's the happiest girl I've ever seen in my life on the left there. What were you saying, Martin?
I think you're giving short shrift to the use of the sfumato effect in the background, but
But so that's a fun one. This is another fun. This one, I sent you the Wikipedia definition, Hangry. This is weird. This isn't really a logo or a movie or a saying. So why do you not eat a bunch of sugar? Because you get a sugar rush, Like, you remember in Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends where Mac, eats all the candy and he goes all wild, he gets naked, and he's, causing a ruckus for everything. He's having almost like someone going crazy and stuff. Sugar rush even though there are shows named after this sort of thing, it doesn't exist. It's not real. Apparently, either there was a big, massive, we failed society in talking about medical type stuff, or this was something that our grandparents made up. But apparently, sugar high doesn't exist, and this blows my mind.
As someone with children, I highly dispute that. Martin?
Oh, I've heard it explained as kids eat the sugar, they insulin dump, and then the adrenaline it eats up is released to consume the insulin, and that adrenaline rush is what causes what we think of as a sugar high. At least that's what I've heard biologically is the process.
Okay.
I don't know, man. My youngest experienced quite a sugar high today. And it was very blatant.
Hear that, obvious. Wikipedia facts. Yeah. Talk to Hangry's son.
I don't know about this. I don't know. This one really surprised me when you sent it to me, Martin. I gotta say.
Yeah, it's but no, Martin, that's a good
I didn't send that. What?
Nolan.
I thought you were
bring Jonas back. Oh man. But no, it's weird.
Trying to gaslight me.
or society trying to gaslight us.
Yeah.
Ever seen They Live? Anyways, I have the cream of the crop, and I have my favorite story time. Unless there's anything else you guys want to get into first, because I got the grand finale.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so first up, I want to give major credit to one of my favorite YouTubers all time. He's a great YouTube channel. Please check him out. If you like Mandela effects, please check him out. He's got great videos on topic, and he doesn't just do it gimmicky either. Like he finds this stuff fascinating. He does great research. God bless this dude. He is amazing. If there was one great, I don't even know if this is the most practical or the best example, but is by far the most fascinating story. Today, we're going to talk about Pokemon. And you don't have to be a Pokemon expert even to get this. Like, you can be a casual observer of just media in general.
Well, I feel like to be a Pokemon master is my destiny.
As it is mine.
Be the very best that no one ever was.
Exactly.
It's the goal.
Anyways, so this is going to become. I can sing like 13 different Pokemon theme songs. So before I subject you all to that, we're gonna get to this Pokemon mystery. So yeah, okay. So actually, can you please bring up the picture of the art brush Pokemon, please? I sent you.
Here we go.
Yeah, we have a few different stills here. The one with the little paintbrush tip, if you have it. Okay, we might not have it, but that's okay. So
here it is.
There it is. Yep, there we go. Okay. So 4chan, we love it, we hate it. Anyways, they were having a little contest at one point, and this was a fun idea. It was basically like, yo, draw a Pokemon just from your memory. Like, don't look up any reference images. Just go by your memories, and that's we know, like, memory is not always exact. Just draw and see what you can do. So say you get Pikachu. Here, draw a picture of how you remember Pikachu looking. That's a thing in itself. And present it to the audience, and we'll see. And we can meme on it a bit. So they had this fun little contest, and such. But there was this guy who drew a meme-worthy picture. In fact, can you? Yeah, that's right there. And people were like, what the heck is that thing? And the guy's like, it's an anonymous user, because that's the nature of 4chan. It's Tentaquil. That is, for those unfamiliar, that is not a real Pokemon. And they're like, wait, what? And so they had some fun with this, because this wasn't a real Pokemon. It's a mixture of like one Pokemon called Tentaquil and another one called Cyndaquil, which Cyndaquil doesn't even look like this thing. It's like its own, like this thing doesn't even look like a squid. So
sounds like Nightquill.
Ask your doctor about Tentaquil.
Thank you guys. So they had fun with this. They were like, okay, it's Tentaquil, so let's make fan art of him. Let's put him in the games. Like, this was like a meme for like Pokemon, like this stupid thing. So it was all funny. It was haha funny. So pull up the Pocket Monsters one, please, Hangry. So yeah, okay. So years later, years ago in like the late 90s, sometimes they'll display games, like earlier builds of games before they were finished, and put them on display at like back before we put them all over the internet, we had like trade shows and stuff like that, public displays where journalists could write about it and put less political opinions back then. Oh, I'd say that. Anyways, they would cover the games. And these were usually earlier builds, so the games weren't finished. For something like Pokemon, you have to conceptualize designs, roars, attacks, all that stuff. So there's plenty of Pokemon that don't end up making the final cut. Some of them get mixed into different designs. There's an early version of like two Pokemon that were kind of mixed together that became separate Pokemon. There's a lot. When you have over like 100 Pokemon, you got a lot of stuff to keep up. And at this point, I believe it was over 200. So this was the highly anticipated new Pokemon game. So eventually, this early build leaked onto the internet. And when this early build came in, they had a roster of early Pokemon that didn't make the cut. And if you'd like to go to another picture there, Hangry, of like the other Pokemon, you can see a lot of different designs. Oh yeah, here are some early type Pokemon, But if you could show us another picture of the side-by-side there, one of the pictures, I think it's the next one. Here we go. Well, that kind of looks like that crude drawing a lot. Like,
Wow.
if that was a kid drawing a Pokemon, I'm like, yeah, it's definitely that one. Now, it could call it a coincidence. I do not believe in coincidences. I believe there is a reason. But this is just weird. And it's weird. 4chan has anonymous things there, so there's like no tracks left behind. Was this a kid who had the alleged uncle that works at Nintendo?
Right.
Remembered this? It's like, yo, I'll draw this. Was this a developer who pitched in and had some fun? Was this just something that was somehow aligned by all the weird things that could have happened in the universe for this guy's memory to align with this Pokemon? Or is this the Mandela effect? And somehow this guy came from another timeline and was chilling on 4chan. What do y'all think of this weird story? Whether you believe it or not, this is one of the weirdest things I have ever seen in my life.
I mean, there's enough of a similarity to give it plausibility, but at the same time, there are enough differences that I don't know. I'm 50-50 on this. What do you think, Martin?
You put something out to the internet and ask people to make themselves some fake Pokemon, and you're probably going to get
But it's not supposed to be fake. It's supposed to be based off of real ones.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, you did say that. But
my apologies.
Oh, no, go ahead. Because you're right. That is what you said. At least that's what I remember you to have said.
Oh, no, here we go again. No, but like they're just like draw Pokemon from memory. And this guy seemed to believe that this Pokemon existed. Now, thankfully, I don't know if there's any code in the data. I doubt it said Tentaquil. And if it did, I'm about to freak out right now. But continue, Martin. Sorry.
Well, that one there looks kind of froggish. The other one doesn't have the protruding eyes. You're gonna get stuff that looks like other stuff sometimes. That's the rationalization of it. But the fun part about the Mandela effect stuff is it's not falsifiable. You could just run with it.
That's true.
Yeah, you can. It's like the ultimate counter. It's like you can't prove something that doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like,
well, of course I don't have evidence. That's the way the Mandela effect works.
Exactly. Yeah. It's fun, and it's food for thought, because this, it's like we joke, we like to make memes and little contest trivias about this, and some people are completely the other side of this, where it's like all of it's false memory, y'all are stupid. Some people are super, I don't know if you want to put me in there or not, that's debatable. I'll let the comments decide that. But it's like some people are like, yes, that's absolutely what happened. It's one of those where we make jokes about this because a lot of people live their day-to-day lives, and they're like, okay, maybe it's weird that I think this, but literally that's what scientists do. I mean, there are times where abstract concepts like quantum mechanics and all these kind of perceptions. There was a time when there were times where women were giving birth to children, and all these women who were giving birth, unfortunately, what's that?
I've heard of that happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens. But in the old times, a lot of women, unfortunately, would pass away after giving birth. And then this guy had a crazy idea. He's like, what if this is like bacteria in your hands? What if doctors actually wash their hands before helping women in labor? And the guy was called crazy and put in an insane asylum. Well, did you know later on there were things like infective things in our hands, and now we all wash our hands. So sometimes you got to be bold and be willing to ask these questions. Now, does that mean the Mandela effect is real? No. Am I a believer? Yes, I am, but I'm also a spiritual man. Former atheist, but I am a man who likes to read on this type of stuff, and I do believe the universe has more answers than what we realize. But so I am a believer that there is this Mandela effect. I believe that it was the Bernstein Bears. And do I know I'm for sure true? No. And I don't believe you should make fun of people whether they believe this way, and honestly the other way too. It's one of those where I don't know the answers, and I'm trying to make sense of this crazy rock we're floating around in space. What do you guys think?
I mean, it sort of lines up with other phenomena that I've that we all experience in our lives, right? Like one of the ones that I've never found a satisfactory answer to is when you start noticing things. And what I mean by that is you'll be driving down the road and you'll see like an orange, I don't know, you'll see. Give me a car name like a yellow
Camaro.
like a yellow Volkswagen Beetle, like a classic one drive by, and then like 5 minutes later you'll see another one, and you'll be like,
Yes.
wait a minute. And the explanation that I've always gotten for that, which is the one that they hold in esteem, is that these beetles are always driving by you. You never really noticed them until that particular instance, and now that you sort of saw one, you've now noticed the others because you're kind of primed for it. But again, like I said, I've never felt that to be a very satisfactory explanation. I think there's a fine line between explainable phenomena like tricks of the mind and maybe just a little bit more happening there. And it kind of goes back to the whole belief that we already know everything that there is to know, that our worldview as it is right now, that we've discovered all that there is, and that
We don't
all
know
that
everything.
all that we can see and feel and touch right now is all that there is. And we might start veering into religious versus atheist conversation right now, but
there may be another episode.
All right, let's jump into that.
But
yeah, okay, go for it, Martin.
There is a term for it though, Hangry, and that term is called synchronicity. When you notice things, like say you read something in a book, and then all of a sudden you start seeing that appear everywhere. Some people connect that with like angel numbers and such. Atheists tend to kind of write off as a coincidence, but the term is called synchronicity. And I not whatever your perspectives are in life, I will say, if you want something that for an atheist, this is a fun game. For people who are spiritual, you can take it as a sign. Look out for synchronicities in your life, because for me, that was the pathway for where I am now. So I'll let you decide if that's a good thing or not.
Martin, what do you think?
Well, I think that human beings are amazing at detecting patterns. I think that we actually excel machines in that in a lot of ways. I have a data analytics background, and there have been times where I've just stared at data and then suddenly something came to me, and sure enough, there's an answer in there. But I also remember as a kid, we had wood paneling in my bedroom, and I could swear there was a face in the wood paneling, and it freaked me out. But I then later found out human beings see faces in all sorts of things. I mean, how many cars have an angry looking sort of face, right?
Right.
Except for the one brand, I think it's Kia's that smile, right?
Right. Yeah. So we look to humanize animals and machines and all sorts of stuff. We see faces and things. We see patterns. Hangry, on the thing you were talking about with seeing cars over and over. Like as soon as I bought my first brand new car, I saw that model everywhere. Or I remember going to like fairs and theme parks and just being out and about, and like the first person you notice, you see that person all day long. Have you ever had that phenomenon happen to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're lucky, it's a pretty girl.
Sometimes it is, brother.
Sometimes it is. No, that's like where I was going with this, though, is the fact that, it's easy to dismiss things like this, I guess, as just being tricks of the mind, or basically lack of attention or too much attention focused, the mind just being what it is, and so on and so forth. But I still feel it's a large hadron collider. I still feel that we've maybe like there it feels like there is more to this. And they say that there's strength in numbers, and if you're the only one who's feeling this way, then fine. Yeah, maybe the Mandela effect, maybe it always was Berenstain Bears. But when you've got so many people feeling the same way, and adamant about it, it does give you a bit of pause. I think it should give anyone a bit of pause. So anyway, that's how I felt about, you know, the Mandela effect when I first read about it. And quite frankly, I was quite astonished. But all that to be said, we're going to have to wrap up shortly. Lou, Lauren, I want to thank you guys so much for spending the last 50 minutes with me talking about the Mandela effect and, you know, its impact on society and how...
Hey, any friend of Nelson's is a friend of mine, or not. I don't know.
You know, I wouldn't have thought that we could have gotten an hour's worth of conversation out of this, but I guess sometimes it just works out.
Yeah, it's incredible. You know, you never know when the Mandela effect might hit you too. It's it seems, I think you had said before that it's a bit like a collective sense of deja vu, and so you might be just watching a stream and then suddenly blammo
with the twist. Deja vu with a twist.
Exactly. With deja vu with a twist. All that to be said, you know, thank you so much.
The twist.
Without
Have you been
the
to the local disco lately?
No. What's a disco?
Well, see, there you go. It's something I remembered that I forgot. Chubby Checkers, I think was his name, but anyway,
his name was Chubby Chess.
That's it.
Okay. Oh boy.
Chubby Hubby? I don't know.
Chubby Hubby. Oh dear. Okay. Well, all that to be said, guys, thank you so much for taking the time. Audience, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of The Returners. Somehow the Mandela effect returned, and we may or may not see you in this form next week or the week after, or whenever Jonas decides to publish the next one. All that to be said, have a wonderful day, night, evening, wherever you are. And
thanks for the memories, however warped they may be. Yeah. That was Bing Crosby's song, right?
I think so. I thought it was, wasn't it Bing Sinatra?
No, that was his little brother Dean. Anyway.
Have a wonderful night, everybody, and we'll see you again.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation of The Lost Guys here on That Pod Plays. Be sure to subscribe for more content like it. And you can become a member at That Park Place here on YouTube to see more of The Lost Guys every Friday as soon as the guys record an episode. Let us know your thoughts on this intriguing topic in the comments down below. Please comment, like, and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to That Park Place Podcasts Online, your source for exclusive content and highlights from WDW Pro, The Pro Show, and That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.